ain't hurt, don't keep the same, do you?
Hey everyone, and welcome back to CTV. My name is Sierra Artemis, and I am your host. Hey guys, be sure to follow me on my social media. That's Sierra Artemis TV on Facebook, Sierra Artemis on YouTube. I am Sierra Artemis on Instagram, Sierra Artemis TV on Twitter. Be sure to check out my website, that's sierraartemis.com. There you can find past episodes and information on upcoming episodes as well, guys. And again, if you're on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe and turn those notifications on. And while you are at it, guys, go ahead and share this video right now. Share it with your Facebook friends, your enemies, your mama, your daddy, your grandma, Facebook groups, everybody. I created CTV as a space to highlight minority businesses, creators, entrepreneurs, and initiatives in hopes to inspire you on the other side of the screen to go out and chase your goals and dreams, and also to just bring awareness of these small businesses, these amazing businesses that are often overlooked. And speaking of awareness, the biggest part of supporting businesses, creators, entrepreneurs, and initiatives is advertising and word of mouth, guys. So let's pull these receipts, okay? A shout out is free. Following someone on social media is free. Telling someone, free. Engaging with their posts, free. Sharing their content, free. For the grand total of $0, free. So if your excuse is finances, guys, you can grill it up and eat it, okay? You are just making excuses. It's absolutely free to support small businesses and your so-called friends, all shade, no tea, okay? So today's guest is a creator of another really, really awesome podcast, the Pill Talk Podcast. So this is the official podcast link up today. Pill Talk Podcast was created by Dr. Bartou Wilson. Dr. Wilson is a pharmacist. He was a pharmacist that was featured in one of the most prestigious publications, Marquis Who's Who, in 2021 as a top medical professional in the world. So again, welcome to CTV, Dr. Bartou Wilson. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I am doing well. So let's talk a little bit about your podcast, and let's get a bit of info and get to know who Dr. Bartou Wilson is. So what do you talk about on your podcast, and why the name Pill Talk?
All right, but let's start with the last question. Pill Talk, because I'm a pharmacist. I want to make sure I give the daily dose of inspiration, motivation to everyone that tunes in and listen to it. So one of the things that I do is I go out and I reach top medical professionals and top entrepreneurs, and I have a conversation with them. First, I want to start with their background. Like, where did you come from and how did you get here? Because a lot of people got goals and aspirations that they want to reach, but scared because they feel like they're starting from a place where a lot of people haven't started from, or starting from a place that's far back. And some of these professionals and all of that I talk to let you know that, hey, I came from where you came from, and you can make it to the next level. So on my podcast, we talk about their career path, their journey, and how they're impacting their customers and patients.
All right, awesome. So tell me a little bit about, what inspired you to be a pharmacist, and what do you do as a pharmacist?
All right. So what inspired me to become a pharmacist is like when I was younger, I remember in elementary school, like talking to my mom, my grandmother, and asking them why they took the medications, what was going on with them. And they didn't have the answers to those questions. So I figured I'd take it upon myself to go get those answers. And then doing my little research as like a elementary school student, they were like, if you want to know about medications, become a pharmacist. And that was my goal since then. It was like, listen, I got to figure out what's going on and how I can come back to my people, my family, my friends, and educate them on what they take and what they're doing.
Well, they say knowledge is wealth, and you want to share the wealth. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So where did you attend school?
Went to undergrad at Francis Marion University. Got a undergrad degree in biology, minor in chemistry. Worked for a retail company for about a year just to get some experience in the pharmacy field before I applied. And then went on to Presbyterian College School of Pharmacy in Clinton, South Carolina to do my 4 years of pharmacy school.
Okay, awesome. I got family from Clinton, South Carolina, by the way. So I'm going to ask this question. It's going to sound like the same question, but it's actually, I want to get more in depth as to why you created a podcast. I know you told me why you and what inspired you to become a pharmacist, but why a podcast about what you do?
That's a great question. I think it started because I got on one of my friends' podcasts and I was able to talk about my experience and my journey. And that was cool, a little insightful. I like how it was. And I was like, you know what? I think I can do this myself because I got a different message. I got a different thing that I want people to hear. Because I want people like us, African Americans, people of color, you know what I'm saying, minorities, to see that we are out here, we are getting things done, like we are being in the medical field and whatever. Because growing up in Georgetown, South Carolina, you didn't see many Black medical professionals. So when I came out and became a pharmacist and coming back home, people were like, yo, you inspire me, like you motivate me. And I'm like, if I can do that from my own hometown and my own peers, imagine if I could have a podcast where people that looks like me, sound like me, you know what I'm saying, come from my background, has made it to this level of like being a top entrepreneur or top medical provider, is going to inspire the next generation. So that's really the real reason, is to come out here and inspire, give people their daily dose so that they can live to their full potential.
Awesome. Well, you answered my next question, because I basically was going to ask, I know you interview and you speak to a lot of medical professionals, but I was going to say, who is it for? Who is the audience? So you pretty much answered that. So it's pretty much anybody that wants to know more in depth of what these medical professionals do in their fields. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about your show. So where can we check you out at? Where can we check out your website or your podcast?
Great. So all my social media handles for the podcast is Pill Talk Podcast. You can find me on Facebook, Pill Talk Podcast. I'm on all the podcast platforms. So Apple, Google, Anchor, just to name a few. You can check me out there. You can definitely find me on Instagram at Pill Talk Podcast, where you can find brief reels of the people that I've previously interviewed, telling a little bit about themselves, who they are, what they do, and where they're located, and some words of wisdom. And you can also find clips that I drop from all the videos, just to give you a bite size and a dose of information that you could use and apply that day or any day.
Okay, awesome. Have you I know that you've gone to school and you've gotten all this education, but you're pretty much a master of your field. So what have you learned about other medical professionals in their fields? Have you learned anything, or what would you say you've taken away from that?
Man, I've learned a lot. Like going back and listening to it, I've used some of the information that they've said and shared on the podcast and applied back into the job. Where like I'm a retail pharmacist, so I had a young lady. She was a physical therapist, physical therapist. She dealt with people who was recovering from cancer or have lymph nodes or angioedema. Man, I can't think of what it is at the moment.
It's okay. We ain't gonna know what you're talking about anyway. Unless you're in the medical field and you took medical terminology, we don't know anyway.
But she was able to like give me some good insight. So next time I saw patients that was suffering from the illnesses that she was doing, like helping out, I was able to like, hey, are you doing this? Are you doing that? And it was like, I haven't, but thank you for that information. They came back and was like, yo, the tips that you gave me, I applied it, I used it, and I'm feeling better. I'm moving better. So I'm like, yo, that was one little piece of information that I was able to take from my own podcast and apply it.
And you know what? As I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about it, I'm just like, you know, you're a pharmacist. You deal more with the medication, and sometimes, you know, you know what it treats, but you don't know much about the conditions themselves. Correct me if I'm wrong. So when you interview these people that those are actually their specific fields, you're able to get kind of a more in-depth idea of what these people's lives are like, and you know, the conditions that they're living with, so that when you are, you know, when people ask, you know, because people ask the pharmacist questions about medication, they're like, I don't have my doctor right here. Let me ask the nearest doctor. Let me ask the nearest specialist in this field that I'm in. So I think that's amazing, especially since, you know, podcasting is fun. And I mean, and I can speak for myself when I say this, but there's so much that I learned from my guests, like people like you know, I have no clue. I mean, I work at DHEC, but I have no clue about anything that our partners, you know, we don't know much about what it is they deal with on a regular basis. And we don't have the same level of education that you guys do. So I really can appreciate as a podcaster too, you know, learning more. Like this is a field of learning. So I definitely admire that. And I think that's amazing what you're able to learn with your podcast. Awesome. So guys, if you're just tuning in, I'm talking to Dr. Bartou Wilson of the Pill Talk podcast. It is our official podcast link up. We talked a little bit about Dr. Wilson and what inspired him to create his podcast and why you should also check it out. So if you're just tuning in, if you see at the bottom of the screen, check out pilltalkpodcast.com. We also have his handle. So pretty much he says for every platform is Pill Talk Podcast. That's like a tongue twister for me. And especially on Instagram, guys, be sure to go and check him out there. Dr. Wilson, I know we talked a little bit also about, you know, what inspired you to create your podcast and in the audience and everything like that. So what types of medical professionals have you spoken to so far?
So it has ranged from emergency department physicians who actually works with, or who did work with the Obama administration as a biodefense physician, and was given information to the whole, you know what I mean, committee, to people who are therapists who can help you get through life traumas, to a young lady who was a doula who helped people with childbirth, to speaking with an OB hospitalist who has a course and a podcast that talks about childbirth and different things that.
Another podcast link up.
Hey, you already know. So it was just one of those things where now that I'm in it, I'm finding all these different people coming out of nowhere. Obviously, I spoke to different pharmacists in hospital, to retail, to specializing in helping patients with pain management, such as like people suffering from sickle cell crises, because that is something that's major in the Black community. So just being able to touch all those different things and keeping myself educated and knowing what's going on.
That's awesome. So what advice would you give to any aspiring pharmacist? And what all are your degrees in, if you don't mind me asking?
So anyone that wants to become a pharmacist, I'm going to let you know. Me personally, it took me 3 tries to become a pharmacist. So if you get denied once or twice, never stop reaching for your goal. It's bigger dreams, less worries. So long as you know what the dream is, as long as you know what the end goal is, keep going forward. To get into pharmacy school, you could do a 2-4 program. That's 2 years undergrad and 4 years pharmacy school. But I did the traditional route where I did 4 years undergrad, got a degree in biology, minor in chemistry. And then I went to pharmacy school and got my doctorate in pharmacy.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. All right. All righty. So let's see. I want to make sure I'm not asking any questions over.
Are you good?
All righty. Also, I know before we interviewed today, you said that you had another guest that you were interviewing today. So give us a little sneak peek of that. Who did you interview, and when can we expect to see that episode?
So that's crazy. He's interviewing me to be on his podcast called The Heat.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's also one of my neos on this side.
Yeah, I know sometimes it's like,
yeah, which way? But yeah, he's one of my
green screen. Go ahead.
Nah, not yet. I need to get that. I haven't leveled up there yet, but we going there.
Same concept. I promise you. You'll be like, Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. You said he's one of your neophytes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So we're gonna check out that interview too with the Heat. Okay, okay. Well, thank you for putting us on to that. All right, so let's talk about the challenges of the podcast world. Since we have this opportunity right here, right now, you and I both podcast us. Let's talk about the challenges. So I know your field, your area of study is mostly medical science, all of that. So what was one of your biggest challenges starting and creating a podcast? Like, did you research anything before? How was that for you?
No, I didn't research a thing. So it was basically just trying to figure out how can I form it and send it out to everyone at once and not try to keep copying a link. That's how I came across Anchor. So that kind of like set me up. I was, all right, we good on this. But I think my problem when I first started was like editing. So taking the time and edit videos and chop them up and find the captions. And I'm like, yo, this is very time consuming.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's almost like running your own business and working for yourself in that business. Yeah.
Yes.
You are the promoter. You are the voice. You are the face. You are everything. You're the editor, audio, all that. It's like television. And I used to work in television. So it's like taking every aspect of television and condensing it. Promotion, this, that, but it's you. All of it is on you. So let's talk also about, so when, as far as research is concerned, did you watch like YouTube videos to teach you how to edit, or did you just find some really simple editing tools, or what did you do?
Nah, I really kind of just got on the computer and just made it into clips and put a background on it from like Canva. Okay. And that's how I kind of like got my edit started at first. But then I ran into a gentleman. He told me he edit videos on the side and take pictures and whatnot. And I was like, listen, how much do you charge per video? Take this off my hand. I can timestamp it. You can just clip it, put it inside the backdrop or whatever, put the title, the bottom, the handles, like the person's name, websites and things like that. He gave me a decent price and I was like, all right, let me record, give it to you. And then you can do your part and I can start to do my part when it comes back. Okay.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, hey, everything takes research. Me, I kind of had the foundation when it came to editing and writing and speaking, all of that. It was just a matter of finding platforms other than social media, because it's like sometimes people see it and they just scroll past it. I had to study algorithms. Anytime there was any type of webinar advertisement showed up on Facebook, I'm on it. I'm trying to find out everything I need to know. I even took classes, at USC, just so that I can kind of perfect it. So I definitely admire those, because see, I'm not disciplined. I'm not saying, hey, look at all the accolades I have. No, I'm saying I'm not disciplined at all. So if I hadn't taken classes, I don't think I would be disciplined enough to sit in front of YouTube to try to figure it out. And I ain't balling, so I can't afford to pay nobody else to do anything for me. So I definitely commend you for that, especially, coming up with this idea. Matter of fact, let's start back. Let's double back to, being inspired as a child. I definitely commend you for finding something you're interested in, sticking with it. You said it took you 3 tries, and shoot, it took me 11 years to graduate undergrad. But I was like, I'm still going. I had to work a full-time job. I kept going, and I finally got the actual degree.
Congrats.
So thank you. So I definitely can relate when it comes to keep going, keep moving, never lose sight of the goal. And I also admire the fact that you're so willing to educate everybody, and not just medical professionals, and you're not just catering to those that are knowledgeable about these fields. You're talking to the people that perform these jobs, and you're giving your audience, people like me, an opportunity to really see what goes into it, because everybody has a job. Pretty much everybody that has a job, and we know how to work our jobs, but we all have to see a doctor or a physician at some point in our lives. And sometimes we don't have all the schooling, we don't have all the education. So sometimes the things that, a doctor tells you, or a physician tells you, or a professional tells you, goes through one ear and out the other. Cause you're like, I have no clue what they said to me. I just know they know what they're talking about, because I don't know what I don't know the terminology. And so it gives a real humanistic, how do I say, a real humanistic, it just gives people a better idea. I can't even think, but I think it's amazing what you're doing. And also, guys, if you're just tuning in, again, I am with Dr. Bartou Wilson. He is the creator of the Pill Talk podcast, and he also has some merch now. I was scrolling, I seen you got some merch for sale. All right. So make sure you guys check out their website. Scrolling at the bottom of the screen. That's pilltalkpodcast.com. Got some nice little shirts there. Go ahead and get you some little gear. I see you're paying homage to your fraternity with all the red and the black and the white. So why the name? I understand, the play on words, but what really stood out for you for the names? Like, did you struggle with the name at first, or did you already just knew when you came up with this idea for the podcast that, hey, Pill Talk, boom, that's what it is? Yeah,
I wanted something with the name that when you think of it, you kind of think of my personality, or you think of my profession, like something that when you say the name, you're like, oh, you must be talking about him. Because it's something that represents me as a person. Instead of just calling it whatever, like I want to make sure that it's something that's tied into me and that could be universal. Because Pill Talk, we could talk about a lot of different things, Because like I said, it's your daily dose. It's what you need. You know what I mean? So that's how I come up with the name. But on to the merch. Right now, I do have a sale going on in the month of August 2021. If you're going back to school, use School 25 for 25% off. That's some of the merchandise up there, but it's much more. You have the Bigger Dreams, Less Worries t-shirt. That's one of the best sellers out right now. Just because of that motto, just because of that, you can wear that anywhere. Wear that your kids, your woman, your friends, anyone can wear that because it's all about having that bigger dream. And not worrying about any of those worries. And then the empowered leaders, empowering leaders. That's another great one right there that we have, because as you know, each one teach one. So as a great leader, you want to make sure that you're teaching the next generation behind you to be great leaders, so that when you're gone and when you pass on the torch, you know that someone's going to take in, walk in your footsteps and take the crowd a little farther.
That's awesome. That's awesome, guys. So be sure in August, this month, he said there is a sale on those t-shirts. So guys, be sure to go and check it out. Go to Pill Talk Podcast. It's a tongue twister, guys, but read it again. pilltalkpodcast.com. Go to merch and go ahead and check out the shirts. He said there is a discount code as well. So make sure your kids and you are ready for back to school and just walking around in the streets, let people see it. And then when they ask you, be like, oh, it's Pill Talk Podcast. You need to tell them, so you got a whole little conversation going with strangers over the shirt. Awesome. So when English this time, when does your show air? And is there like a time? Is it every day, once a month? How do we check it out? What is this?
So right now, Pill Talk Podcast, we have an episode. We're roughly on like episode 28. So I've been doing this for almost a complete year. Episode 28 coming out Monday. So it comes out every Monday at 6 p.m. on your podcast platforms, YouTube and Facebook. And then throughout the week, I break it down and drop clips of the episode, just in case you couldn't catch the full episode. You can catch the little clips just to keep you informed and educated and motivated. And plus, coming out very shortly, I will start my live, my podcast lives. So it will be Wednesdays at 9:30. I will have a financial advisor the first and third Wednesday, just to teach you guys about stocks, how to educate you about getting out of debt, building wealth, generational wealth, first and third Wednesdays at 9:30. It will be on Pill Talk Podcast YouTube channel. And then the second and fourth Wednesdays, I will have a doctor or a medical provider come on and talk to you about what they do in their field. We can have a live Q&A because it'll be live. So that way you can actually ask a question and get that answer in right there in time. So make sure you tune in to Pill Talk Podcast episodes weekly at Monday at 6 p.m. And then we will start the live every Wednesday at 9:30 on YouTube. So that way you can either one, get financial advice and or learn about the stock market. And then number two, talk to medical providers and ask them questions that you have in their field.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. All righty. Well, Dr. Bartou Wilson, I just want to thank you again for being a part of CTV and commend you again for what you're doing over on your podcast, Pill Talk Podcast. And again, thank you so much for joining me today.
All right, no problem. Thank you for having me on.
All right, guys, if you're just tuning in, I was just speaking with Dr. Bartou Wilson. He is the creator of Pill Talk Podcast. We talked a little bit about his podcast, what inspired him to create his podcast. And he also has some merchandise, guys. So be sure to check out his website. It's still scrolling at the bottom of the screen. That is pilltalkpodcast.com. And guys, be sure to check me out on social media. That's Sierra Artemis TV on Facebook. I am Sierra Artemis on Instagram. Sierra Artemis on YouTube, and Sierra Artemis TV on Twitter as well. And guys, be sure to check out my website. That's sierraartemis.com. There you can view past episodes and information on upcoming episodes. Guys, as always, I'm always advocating for us to support small minority businesses, other businesses. Let's help to bring awareness to all of these great and wonderful businesses that are scrolling on your timeline. It is absolutely free to like, share, comment, interact, all of that. It goes a very, very long way, guys. You have no clue. You don't have to spend a dime. If you spend money, that's great. But if you share and you interact with posts, that's even better. So guys, again, I leave you with this. And I also want to thank you all for tuning in. Again, another shout out to Pill Talk Podcast, Dr. Bartou Wilson. And be sure to check out CTV every Saturday at 7 p.m. Thank you for watching.